Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to show you how to use Desmos Activity Builder, which is their software for creating your own online assignments. Alright, so first you're going to go to teacher.desmos.com, and if you haven't logged in already, you need to log in. It'll ask you to sign in. And you're going to scroll down here. You may see some assignments that we've done in our class listed here. It's because I created them in Desmos Activity Builder. You're going to scroll down until you find Activity Builder and click on that. And then you're going to give your activity a title. So I'm just going to call it my first activity and click Start Building. Alright. And so on the left here you'll see all of the different screens that somebody will work on as they're working on their Desmos activity. And then these are the different things that you can put on your screen. And it's really the nice thing about Desmos Activity Builder is that they've kept it very simple. There are very few options for what you can add, and so you never are overwhelmed by your options. Most of the time you're going to want to add a note. And this is some space for you to give instructions to the student. So you might say, solve the equation x plus 3y equals 2. Alright? And then you'd hit done. And then you want to give somebody an opportunity to answer that question, so you click on input, and this will create a input box where they can type their answer. And it's helpful if you leave this box right here, show students their classmates' responses. It's helpful if you leave that checked. What that does is it means that when you submit your answer, then you can see what like 2 or 3 other people's answers, and so you can see what other people are thinking, what other people think is the answer to the problem. Now you can allow them to do text or math, and since the answer to this question is just going to be a number, I'm just going to put math there. And if you click on preview, you can see what the question will look like when somebody is working on it. Alright. Let's add another screen. To add another screen you just hit plus. And now we're working on a new screen. Same setup as before. I can always go back to the old screen by clicking over here. Let's say we're going to create another input box and another note, but this time we want to add an image. So you're going to click on image here, click on image, and then you hit add an image, and you're just going to find an image on your desktop. Here's one that I used in a different assignment. So I'm just going to click on 2graphs2.png, hit open. And there it is, there's the image. So this allows you to include graphics in your questions that might be useful. Which table grows faster? I don't know. That's a kind of question you might ask. Alright, and again you can let people choose text or math as their answers. When you preview it, it will look like this. Alright, I'm going to add another screen. Now the main thing that's nice about Desmos is you can add graphs. So let's add a graph. That's the one thing we haven't done. Alright. And when you add a graph, it's just like any graph you've ever used in Desmos. All the usual things apply. Alright, there's a graph, there's the formula for it. You can turn on projector mode, you can turn it off, you can change all of these things, right? You can zoom out, you can zoom in. It's just a regular Desmos graphing calculator. Except there are a couple of fancy things you can do in the Desmos Activity Builder which you cannot do in a regular graphing calculator. So one of the first things you can do is you can add a folder. If you go up here to this plus symbol, you can add a note, an expression, a table, a folder. You can always do these in Desmos, but the folders have a very important special property. Folders are just places that you can collect a bunch of your formulas. So let's say I want to put in the formula y equals 3, and you can see the graph y equals 3 here. Alright, but I can hide this so that nobody can see it, so it doesn't clutter my space over here. And if you click on preview, you'll see that the student can click here and they can see that formula. Well, what's nice about the folders is that you can actually hide them from the students, so that you can have things on your graph that the person who's working through your blog assignment cannot see the formulas for. So let me give you an example. If I click hide this folder from students and I preview it, then you'll see that they can no longer see that folder. That folder is hidden from them, but the graph still shows up here. So that allows you to add things to your graph that the person working on your assignment cannot see. All right. Let's say I put that there, and now I want to give some instructions to the person working the assignment. To do that, you're going to type a quotation mark, and that'll start a note. Okay. The other way to do that is to go up here and click on note, and I'm going to type what is the formula? What is the point of intersection? All right. Now you'll notice that there is no place for the person to put in an answer. They would just have to go down here and plot this point. All right. So usually the kinds of instructions you want to leave here are going to be things like graph another line that crosses at the same point. So you're going to leave some instructions there for the student, and you want them to write something here in the text in the box below that. You want them to add something else to the graph. Okay, that sounds good. Now let me show you what some more options for graphing. We're going to add another screen. Okay, so you just had an example where the student answered a question. They graphed another line that crosses at this same point. Okay. And now let's say that you want to ask them some more questions about it. So you're going to have an input box and a note, and you can also have a graph. Now here's the thing. You could allow them to, anything that's on this graph, you see there's a note down here, students will only see the graph, not the expression list. So if you leave a graph here, they're only going to see what's in the graph. They're not going to be able to modify this graph. The only way you can allow them to modify graphs is if a graph is on its own. It's the only thing on the screen. So what you can do is you can click on this ... and say copy previous, and now when the student adds something to this graph, whatever they added, it will show up on this other graph on the next screen. So the format is you ask them to do something with this graph, you ask them to add something or change something in this graph, and then on the next screen they can see their work that they just did, and you can ask them, how did you come up with the formula for this line? You can ask them a question about it that they can then answer in one of these input boxes. Okay? The final thing that you should know about the Desmos Activity Builder is that you can add sketches, and this is brand spanking new. They added this feature maybe a week ago, and I have barely played around with it, but it's pretty cool and it might be useful to you. Just like the graphs, you can have it by itself, or you can put it with a note and input, and you can customize the background. Okay, so you could upload an image, or you could put a grid, or you can just have the background be blank. Let me just put a grid. Okay, and let's say I put a note to them: draw an exponential function that is an example of exponential growth. Okay, so I want them to draw an exponential function that's an example of exponential growth. So they're going to go up here to preview, and this is what it's going to look like for them when they see this screen. They're going to have a pencil and an eraser, and they're going to draw something that they think looks like exponential growth. That's pretty good. Okay, they can always undo stuff. If they drew something weird and they don't like it, they can erase it. Okay, but whatever they like, when they're done, they'll just go on to the next slide by clicking on that button. Okay. So these are all the different kinds of things you can add. You can also give titles to each slide. Okay. And now there's a title, make a drawing, and so you can add different instructions for students. All right. There's one other thing I want to show you. If you are writing a formula here is a formula, and you want that formula to show up. Like, let's say I want to have an exponential function. F of x equals 3. You'll notice that this doesn't look like a clean formula. So what you can do instead is you hit the key that is a single quotation mark backwards. It looks like this. You hit that key, And that will bring up this screen right here that lets you type in a regular equation just like you would normally see in Desmos. So you type f of x equals, f of x equals 3 to the power of x. So you type it in the same way, but look what happens when I hit done. This one looks like a nice formula. This one still does not. So again, the way that you do that, the way that you get those formulas is you hit the single quotation mark, the single apostrophe that's backward slash, and then you type in your formula. Okay? When you're finally done with your assignment and it's where you want, you just hit next. You're going to type a description, just a test, description of your activity, and you're going to make it, you can make it public if you want. You hit done. Okay? And then the way that Desmos Activity Builder works, it's designed so that you could create an activity and then you could run it in multiple classes. So maybe if I were teaching, or you were teaching 4 sections of Precalculus with different students in each section, you might want to have 4 different versions of this assignment going so that students are only interacting with and working on the problems with the same people that are in their own class. So to create, because of that, you're not done when you get to this step. You have to go here and hit start a new session. And it will give you a class code, 7DQ7, alright? And you either want to right click on this and click on copy link location or copy web address, okay? And that will give you a code, that a website that you can send somebody to join this class. Alright, so now that I hit submit, now I'm a part of this activity, and it's going to look very familiar to you now. It's going to look like the Desmos activities that we've been doing in our class. Remember this? That's the wrong answer. Alright, here it says waiting for more classmates to respond, but if other people had put in answers, I'd be able to see their answers. Which table grows faster? I don't know. Okay, and so this is an activity, a completed activity that's ready for your classmates to work on. And that's pretty much it. Probably you'll have questions about it. You can ask me about them in class or in office hours, or send me an email, but this should be enough for you to get started playing around with Desmos Activity Builder. I'd suggest logging in, playing around with it, trying out different features, and it'll help you to start thinking about your project and what kinds of questions you want to ask people when they work on your project. Alright, that's it. Thanks for watching.